Okay. All right. We're live. So, what's the discussion about?
I thought we are discussing on the wave generator.
Yes. So, you wanted to discuss about the preview feature, I guess?
Yeah, or what we are designing right now. I want to talk about the designs actually.
Designs. Designs
Yeah,
as in?
as in what we are planning to design, how we are structuring the present, how we present that component.
Are we talking about the wave generator component itself or the preview feature?
I'm not quite understand what you are talking about the preview feature.
Okay, just a sec. Actually, I had to disconnect my mouse because my laptop only has two ports, so it's kind of a hassle. Just a sec.
No problem.
Okay, is the app visible?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the wave generator component. So ask me your questions, then I'll be able to maybe clarify what you want to know.
Okay, you have implemented the designs already.
Yeah, we already have the wave generator designed as far as the UI goes. The
Okay.
thing I wanted you to work upon was the preview feature. So if you try out the Android app, they don't have this preview feature. So all you have to do is, I mean, all you can do is basically this part. So you can just select whichever type of wave you want to generate. Say you want to generate triangular wave from S1 and sinusoidal wave from S2, and say you want to enter the PWM mode, and then you select different phases and duty cycles for different pins for the square waves. That's all you can do. So you basically don't know what you might be getting as an output until you actually connect it to the oscilloscope.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, so I don't know if the actual lab equipment has this preview feature or not, but I thought we should implement it because, first of all, we have a lot of space left here, so we can utilize that. At the same time, if the user is not actually using our oscilloscope and he's just using our board to generate the waves, and he wants some other device to maybe examine it or maybe use it for something else. So in that case, giving a preview is, I think, kind of mandatory. Just a sec. Okay. So yeah, so the preview feature is what I wanted you to work on. So in preview feature, as you can see here, we have this big graph-like thing. This is not a graph as of now. It would look something like this later on. So what I wanted was, say uh, you have disabled all these and just S1 is there. S1 is switched on. So this is basically the preview button. So if you have this switched on, you will get a preview of this here. So what preview is, basically you will write some mathematical function and you'll pass maybe the required parameters that are required to generate the function, I mean the wave. So for example, if you have selected sinusoidal wave for S1, and the frequency of that is 10 hertz. So basically, you'll pass this parameter 10 hertz to your function, or 1 by 10 cycles per second, and uh, you'll write basically a function for generating a sinusoidal wave. So you will have x-axis as time axis and y as the voltage axis, and I think you're kind of getting it. I mean, what I want you to do, right?
Yeah, basically the waves we have to show on that
Yeah,
graph.
so here you are actually writing a mathematical function for generating the waves. So this is not being generated by the device. This is being generated by the app itself. I mean, this may vary a bit from from what the
Device.
device will generate, but this will kind of give you a rough idea of what the wave might look like.
Yeah, exactly.
So for example, if you switch on S2 as well, so in the graph you'll see S1 and S2, both of them will be presented here. And say you set some frequency and then you change the phase as well. So if you change the phase, so you should be able to see the change in phase here as well,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So, um, so I don't know how you'll actually implement it. Writing everything from scratch is not really recommended, to be honest. And I think for sinusoidal waves, and yeah, I think sine is there in the library itself. I mean, the basic math library that JavaScript offers. I don't think triangular waves are available, or the square waves, or the PWM waves. So look for something. Maybe you can just uh, I mean, maybe there are direct formulas which you can just translate into code, and it will just work out. The tricky part may be the phase duty cycles as well. Duty cycle, you know what duty cycle is, right?
Um,
Duty
just
cycle, yeah.
explain a little bit.
Um, Duty cycle is basically in your square wave, you have, say, your wave lies on 0 for 5 seconds, and then it goes to 1 and stays there for 5 seconds, then it goes back to uh, 0 and stays there for 5 seconds. That is how you get a square wave,
Yeah, square waves.
right? So duty cycle is basically the amount of time your wave will stay on high voltage, so 1 in our case. So I don't remember the exact definition, but if you increase the value of duty cycle, the amount of time your wave will stay on 1 will increase. So it will not be exactly a square wave. Then it will be something like it will stay on 0 for say 1 second, and then it will stay on 0 for 1 second and stay on 1 for say 10 seconds. Then again on 0 for 1 second, and then on 1 for 10 seconds, and something like that. So that is what duty cycle is. And oh, so I have actually made a mistake, because in square wave you cannot have duty cycle, because in square wave both of them have to be equal. But in PWM mode you can have duty cycles. So that is why that option should be enabled on PWM mode. Anyways, I'll change it.
I will
Um,
change it. I'm working on this wave generator. I will change it.
Okay, it will take some time actually, because I don't think it is something very trivial, but take your time. It's not very mandatory as of now. It's not something we should be pressing upon. But if you have spare time, you can invest. I mean, you can open a new branch and just keep working on it.
Yeah, sure.
Even I won't be working on this as of now. The rest of the components, I think, will switch to working on logical analyzer maybe in mid of June. We have a lot of time in our hands as of now, and our oscilloscope is more or less done, because Fourier transform I pushed the code today, and it's working fine. I still don't understand what sign fit is. I mean, I have a rough idea of what sign fit is, as far as Padmal sir told me, but I don't see the relevance of this here. And then we have this enable XY, which will be interesting. So this will take some time. Enable XY plot. And power source is working fine. Oh, yes. Okay. So we need a feature where we can click on this number and basically a pop-up shows up and you can enter the values directly.
Okay, that
So
would be
for,
fine.
yeah, so for that I'll open an issue and write the code for a universal model. So basically, it will be a high-level component, and it will be basically a pop-up. Okay, so that pop-up can be used from anywhere in the app. So I'll write that bit, and then you can use that component for this feature. So you can work on that. I'll create an issue probably tomorrow because I've already worked on two issues today, so I won't be working anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, so here's the wave generator. Okay, fine. And uh, oh, I haven't tested this. I'll have to test this as well. The resistance and everything is working fine. Even the clock, sorry, count pulse and frequency and everything is working. The capacitance is not working till now. I don't know what's the problem with the device. It's not reading, or maybe the capacitances that I've tried on, maybe they're faulty or something. I don't know. And I don't know where exactly is this AN8 pin on the board. I don't see the labeling, so I have to ask Padmalsar about that. The docs are updated. No, I mean, the library docs are outdated, and the board has been updated, so the pin names and the uh, docs don't really match now. So and no one is even picking up that issue. So, and
And there's a problem still exists, I believe, the 0661. So do you need to discard the transaction?
just a sec. Yeah. What?
Uh, we have the problem now about
Yeah,
the.
00360. Yes.
Mhm. So
See, if we remove Spring, then the UI is not very appealing. And if we don't, then we have that 0360 issue. So, uh,
I believe we can lay off that transaction as of right now till we don't get any solution, because it kind of looks messier when it goes all over to zero
so you want to remove Spring for now.
as of now, right now.
If you remove Spring, does the transition look smooth even without Spring, or is it like uh, you know, like it's
It
there on one
it
value and you click on something and it instantly goes there? Is
yeah,
it?
it goes instantly. It's like a jump to next subcategory, but I think it looked much better of, of what we having right now. Just yeah, what we are writing issue right now. Um, Actually, the problem is that that what we have that I don't remember the name actually. React
React
comp,
React Spring
no, inside that
circular
cell.
input.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we are passing that step value. That's why we are not having that. So we have to figure out that how to manage that step value actually.
Actually, if we are going, see, we have values from 0 to 360. So as soon as we are going beyond 50% of, I mean, 50% of this. So if you are crossing 180 and we click on something below 180, it will not. I mean, it will not take the shortest way out. The thing is that, I mean, if it were to take the shortest way out, so if it was on 360 and we click on 0, it will take the shortest way. So this, it won't take this round trip. But the thing is, that is not exactly a selection dial. It is actually an input dial. So the way it should work, I mean, the way it is behaving right now is exactly the way it was supposed to work. We are just making use of it by modifying it a bit, like removing that, I don't know what it was, track progress or something. We just removed it and we are just using this button for selection. We are showing that this particular button is selected and so on. But that is not exactly the purpose of that dial. I mean, the way it was made or designed. So whatever we are doing is basically, putting in hacks so that it somehow works. So yes, we can remove Spring for now if that works. But Spring actually gives it a very nice transition, and
Okay, then let it be. If any other solution will come, then we will implement that.
yeah. Hmm. And there are two more things I forgot to ask actually in the previous meeting. Uh, in the app, we have accelerometer, barometer, lux. Yeah. So in the app, we have lux meter, barometer, accelerometer, and one more thing. But that actually doesn't make sense in a desktop app because you don't have a light sensor inbuilt in your desktop app. You don't have an accelerometer in your laptop. So are we even supposed to implement them on the desktop? I don't know yet. And
We don't have a we don't have that sensor in that kit, light sensors.
even if we do, like giving it a separate uh, component, I don't think that makes sense. I mean, it is a sensor, so it's. I mean, there's a section in the Android app also where you can connect a sensor and it will sense which type of sensor it is and it will list down. I don't know what it does. So it should be part of that, I think, like where you can connect a sensor that senses light and intensity, and depending on that, you open up a different UI. But giving it a particular route, I mean, a particular button in the navigation section that we have on the left. So if we do that, I think it won't make sense in a desktop app. I think I'll bring this issue up on Gitter maybe. Uh,
Uh, we can uh, we can discuss this in our that main meeting with Mario and when
Actually, in those meetings, things are a bit, moving at a fast pace. So uh, usually, I mean, either I forget or I don't feel like bringing those issues up. So
I just I have one question. Do we can connect other sensors that not come with the part of the kit,
yes, yes,
like
of course we
as
can.
light sensors? Then we can implement that feature. I believe that lux meter and all.
But the thing is, if you have a separate UI for that, uh, if we were to have a separate UI for that, we are not supposed to give a separate button so that you can open that UI. What I mean to say is, say you connect that sensor to your board, and your board detects that it is a light sensor. So that UI opens up, or you are able to access that UI. That is what I mean. Because your desktop doesn't have an inbuilt sensor, so it won't make sense. And if you were to implement, say, a UI for lux meter, a UI for barometer, think of many sensors that are possible. Maybe one for temperature, maybe one for, I don't know, magnetic field. I don't know. So if we were to implement UI for all such sensors, we'll have a massive app. So we'll need to discuss a bit. on what components we are supposed to provide in the desktop app. Because as far as I know, the Python app that we had, the Python desktop app, uh, at least in the main screen, it did not have these. Uh, I mean, lux meter and all that. The main components were logical analyzer, oscilloscope, power generator, and everything. They were all condensed into one option. Um, Advanced settings, I think that is what it was called. So as of now, I think we should focus on. Actually, we are already ahead of time. Like we have finished
After,
oscilloscope and few other major components already, and like the official coding period has already, I mean, has just started. Like
yeah,
5 days, I guess.
27th May, I believe.
5 days. So
So after wave generator, what other main components we are?
logical analyzer.
And
That's it.
so I believe we have much time
Yeah,
left.
we have 3 months, man. We have a lot of time.
So I
So
think let's not think of this, think of that components right of now.
hmm.
I believe we just complete with wave generator and all the main components, and let's have we don't have testing also. I believe the
We for the testing, well, there is no unified testing suite for the stack we are using. So I think we won't be able to write it. What the heck? Oops. So I think we won't be able to use any testing suite as of now. And testing is secondary, to be very honest, as far as I believe, because we are not doing test driven development. So we don't rely on tests, at least for now, maybe later on. The main challenges that we need to focus on is we need to finish the oscilloscope within mid June. Uh, we have to finish that, and we have to polish all the other components that are left. Then we can work on logical analyzer, and maybe you can start working on preview if you want. You
ah,
can put aside preview for now. Okay.
okay.
Let me finish up with wave generators functionality at least. I'm facing some issues there. So then I think we'll need 1 more month to implement logical analyzer, or maybe even less, because we already know how to put things together. So we need not experiment much. Then there's the issue of the Python script not closing in the background, so that needs to be addressed. So for that, I may take up that issue, or if you want, you can take up that issue. For that, actually, you will have to make changes in the library that I wrote for that, the load balancer. So,
Load balance.
so we can have a discussion on how that works later on. Uh, and mm, what else? Yeah, so if we are able to complete logical analyzer within, I mean, from mid June to mid of July, then we can. Oh, okay. So then we have the section where you plug in a sensor and the app detects the sensor on its own. So that I don't know how we have to implement that. So we'll need time for that. So let's focus on oscilloscope, logical analyzer as of now. So if we are done with the two of these by mid-July, then we can start working on this sensor list that I'm talking about. And parallelly, you and maybe Kunal, if he wants, I don't know how he's juggling between the two projects. He's not able to work on either, I think. Anyway, so in that case, you can take up the lux meter and all that if you want, because I'll first ask them whether we even need that, and if they do, then we can start working on them after mid July. So we'll have almost The coding period ends August 26. Yeah, we'll have a lot of time, at least 1.5 month. So yeah, should be fine, and we are already ahead of time. Let's make proper use of the rest of the time we have. So keep reading about Electron and React. React is not that important here as of now.
Yeah, I'm currently
Uh,
reading Electron and then memory management.
yes, so any kind of optimization that actually the tech stack itself is not important here. What you have to focus upon is the communication between the different tech stacks. Because see, for example, we have just one in and out pipeline for from Python to the JavaScript, the bridge. So here we have a bottleneck. So if we were, I mean, if we could somehow optimize the amount of data we are passing, or maybe, I don't know, I'm just saying random ideas, but we'll have to experiment a bit if we are supposed to have responsive. Yes, from responsive, uh, okay, you don't have the board. So the app is not responsive in the sense that I've reduced the refresh rate a bit, not reduced, increased the refresh rate. So because of that, the pipeline is filled with a lot of data. And when I stop the oscilloscope, the stop message reaches the board, say like a fraction of seconds later. So because of that, what happens is as soon as you click stop, the graph keeps updating for a fraction of a second and then it stops. So we have to do something about that. See, we cannot make the message reach the Python script faster. We cannot do that. So it will reach in its own time, but we'll have to figure out a way so that the app stops reading the data. So the app will know that we have clicked the button instantly because it's part of the app, the UI. But the Python script will know we have clicked the button after a fraction of a second. So we'll have to figure out a way so that the app stops reading the data. So we can do that. We can do that right now actually because, but the app, I mean that logic would be a bit, should I say, less elegant. So I want you to give it some time. So this particular logic will be located in linker, the linker.html. So if you can explore there a bit, it will be interesting. There's one more approach to this. If we tear off the listener as soon as we click the button, that would also do the job. But uh, setting up listener and tearing off listener every time we click the button does not seem right. For some reason, one of my seniors told me. I don't remember what the reason was. I was given some assignment and something similar was done. And in that, I was tearing off and setting up the listener on every button click. So that is not recommended for some reason. I don't remember why. So we can explore in that direction as well.
Okay.
So have you noted them down by the way?
Yeah.
As I said, yeah. So that would come in handy. So all right. Any more questions?
So I just want to. As of now, right now, I'm not working on the wave manager because we have to complete something,
Hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
parts of the wave, that
Mm-hmm.
component.
Hmm.
Power source also.
Yeah, power source. Okay, so I'll raise the issue tomorrow for the universal model,
Okay.
and then you can raise the issue for the
Keyboard power.
yeah. So with
Uh,
that, we would be like 100% complete with power source.
as of right now, I'm sitting like ideal right now.
You want something to work on? Mm, to read more the model and you can
I believe
audible.
yeah, I believe there is a disconnection.
Oh, that's okay. So I was saying that I'll raise an issue and push a PR for the model, and you can start working on that tomorrow. Because as of now, rest of the work is on Python, so without the board, you won't be able to do it. So
I
you
will
can
order that within 10 to 15 days.
you can read a bit about material UI model because that is what you'll be using tomorrow. So you can read a bit about that.
Okay.
Simple component, nothing special. Okay then.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye. No problem.